And the great thing about language is that it continues to evolve and it continues to change, and perhaps now more than ever, it's at more of a rapid pace, or at least it seems, in our world. I'm speaking with Stewart Edelstein, Whence Our Words, an exploration of the sources of English. That's the course with Berkshire, OLLI. And so, Stewart, today, the changes in our language, or at least new words into our lexicon, we see more and more every day, every year, and maybe at a more rapid pace than it has been.
Well, language is organic. It grows every day. Every time a dictionary is published, the day it's published, it's outdated because there are new words being created all the time. If you go back, Samuel Johnson wrote the definitive dictionary of the English language in the middle of the 18th century. He had 40,000 words. Today, the latest edition of the Oxford English Dictionary has over 650,000 entries. If you think about including technical and scientific terms, there are well over 1 million words. So where do all these words come from? Good question. In my large collection of word books, one is put out by the Oxford English Dictionary, and it's words by decade, new words by decade. And you can track what the new technological developments and sociological developments have been by decade from 1900 through the present by looking at that book. So I think that it's fair to say that most new words, called neologisms, derive from technological and sociological developments. I'll give you some examples that come to mind off the top of my head. Wext, W-E-X-T, I just saw for the first time last week. It means walking while texting, which is something nobody should ever do, and people do it. Well, that's a combination of two words. It's the kind of thing that new words are derived from all the time, where people mix two words together, like motel for motor and hotel. There are plenty of those, or heliport for helicopter and airport. That's just one. But
of course, the term text itself, as the verb, to text, of course, that's a relatively new phenomenon.
That's exactly right.
To Google and to,
Google's another example as a verb, and Google's gone to great lengths to make sure that people don't use it as a verb, or if they do, they refer to it as a capital G, because what can happen is if a trade name is really well publicized, it can turn into a word that's common and they lose their protection. But other new words that have come up recently, there are so many, it's hard to know where to start. On Twitter, there are so many, not only new words, but especially new acronyms, words that are just the first letters of other words. So LOL for laughed out loud, or lots of love. You got to know by context whether it's laugh out loud or lots of love. If you go online, you can find AT&T put out a guide for parents on what acronyms their teenagers are using to caution them about what they should be aware of. And one of the acronyms basically means that one of my parents is looking over my shoulder. Another one is no parents are home now. I mean, if you're a parent, you really want to know what those acronyms mean. And so this whole new vocabulary is being developed because of new technology. And that's
those
just
aren't necessarily words per se, because they're sort of, but it's a whole nother language. And in a way, like you're talking about how symbols and created the alphabet that we have today. This is a whole nother way that it's a different language in a lot of ways.
Well, you're absolutely right, and that's just a reflection of a more general evolution of language, which is to shorten words. Instead of laugh out loud, it's LOL. And that's just an example. For example, the word bus was originally omnibus. And there are lots of those words that started out much longer. Mob was originally a Latin word, mobilis, that referred to a large crowd. There are any number of those examples. And because language evolves constantly, and you never know where it's going to head. With technology, I think what's going to be happening is our words are going to end up being shorter, more clipped. Here's one, listicle. Instead of reading articles these days, which are long, comparatively speaking to just a punch list or a bullet list, the word listicle is a combination of list and article. It's what we know of as a portmanteau word. A portmanteau is a word that is based on two or more words that are melded together. It literally means a briefcase with two compartments. So in this world, people are more likely to read a listicle than an article because they can go online, push a button, and see a bunch of bullet points and say, okay, now I know what I need to know. And that's the evolution. That's where it's going.
It's fascinating, and we didn't even get into the word truthiness.
Oh, truthiness, that's right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Our friend Stephen Colbert
right.
Coined that one, of course. But it is just great stuff, and of course, we all use the language, and some people take such great care, like you have over the years, that it was your profession, and also an author who's written about it, and teaching a course at Berkshire OLLI. It's Stewart Edelstein. The course is Whence Are Words? An Exploration of the Sources of English. You can see the information about OLLI on the screen right now. And Stewart, it's a great pleasure speaking with you. It sounds like a fascinating class. And like I said, I may join you for one or two of them.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.